Thank you so much for officially opening, thank you, our 9th International Conference. Hi, everybody. I am Chris Perna, and I'm proud to say I'm the president and CEO of the Eden Alternative and have been for the past 8 years. We're so happy to be here in Atlanta. And with more than 150 people attending from the state of Georgia, I know you're happy to have us here. The wristband you just put on reflects our conference theme, Rise Up, which really commemorates the vision of the Eden Alternative, which is to eliminate the plagues of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom. And it honors the spirit of an incredible city that's got such a rich history in the fight for human rights. So it's very fitting that we're here to do this important work over the next 3 days together. So thank you for being here. From all over the world, United States, Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Europe. Just incredible to see the variety of people that we've got here who are all joining us together as we rise up. Because this is not a problem that's unique to our world here by any means in the United States. This is a global issue, and we are a global organization and a global movement. Canada. Dr. Brian Steves making an auspicious entrance here. Welcome, Brian. You will notice as we gather over the next 3 days, the folks from Nova Scotia like to have a lot of fun, so just watch for that. I want to acknowledge the Eden Home Office team, an amazing group of smart, talented, passionate, committed people who just are all about creating a life worth living for elders and their care partners. It drives what they do every single day. They, along with our business partners, Misty Frank, who's really running this event for us, Karen Stobie, who's helped us do a lot of the planning, and Christopher Communications, who's responsible for anything you see visual around here, working in collaboration with Laura Beck from our team. Just an incredible team effort, working their heart and soul off over the last 18 months to pull an event like this together. I also want to thank our sponsors and exhibitors who provide really important financial support, without which we absolutely could not do this. And last but not least, I certainly want to thank the Georgia Department of Community Health, as well as the Region 4 Office for CMS, who have given us grant money to fund a lot of the folks who are here from Georgia to be able to be here. So thanks to them as well. So we have an incredible program that's going to entertain you, inspire you, and hopefully, above all, it's going to change you in new and different ways. See, at the Eden Alternative, that's what we're all about. We're all about change. Deep, sustainable change for you as individuals and for the communities in which you live and you work. Our goal is to teach you about person-directed care, to open up your hearts and minds to the range of new possibilities for personal growth. Whether you're a newcomer or more experienced care partner, we want to help you learn and grow over the next 3 days. We hope everyone's going to leave this conference embracing what you've learned, ready to share with others, so that others can work with you to create home for elders no matter where they live. Sarah talked about being the living water, the stream. We want you all to leave here ready to be streams of living water for the people that you work with and live with each and every day. Today's an important day for the Eden Alternative. When Dr. Bill Thomas, Bill and Jude, can you please stand up? The founders of the Eden Alternative, Bill and Jude Thomas. You know, it's really their work, their inspiration, that's driven this organization now for well over 20 years. And thank you for making the time to be here with us. This is still their baby. You don't have to spend too much time with them to understand that this is still their baby. So Bill and I met, not for the first time, but we met a little over 8 years ago and had a conversation. And Bill pitched me on the idea of coming to work for the Eden Alternative as the new CEO. And after about 6 months of hemming and hawing and doing my due diligence, I decided to take the leap and said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And Bill said, will you please give me 3 years? Commit to 3 years. And I said, I think I can do better than that. I think I can probably do 5. Well, here I am 8 years later, and have loved every minute of it. So I just never imagined I'd be up here opening my 5th conference, when I said yes to Bill, 8 years ago. And there are a lot of fond memories, believe me, and I have a feeling we're going to make a few more over the next 3 days. We've accomplished a lot together, but there's still a lot of work left to do, and I really hope this conference inspires and energizes all of us to go back and do the hard work, continue to fight the good fight, because the plagues of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom don't go away very easily. We have the training, we have the tools, we have the people. We just got to get it done. And like Nike says, just do it. And like we said, part of our conference theme, change starts here. All right, so we can complain and make excuses, but we all have the ability to make change in ourselves and on our teams and in our organizations, and let's use this as a launching pad to go back and make it happen. So in December of last year, I announced to my board of directors that it was time for me to go, that I was planning an early retirement, and that we needed to start thinking about finding a replacement for me. And I made it very clear at that time, the timing was not coincidental. I knew this conference was coming up, and I knew the benefit I had of joining the organization back in 2010, right at the time we were holding a conference. And it was just an incredible opportunity for me as the new leader to come in and meet a group like this and get off on the right foot. And I wanted to give that same gift to the person coming in behind me. So we took, as we often do at Eden, we set about the task and we got it done. We found the right person to come in and follow me. So I've had 8 great years, but it's time for me to move on, hand the reins over to a new leader, someone who I'm absolutely confident is going to take the Eden Alternative to new heights, new growth, greater influence. I've had the opportunity to work with this person and get to know them over the past 6 years, so they're not new to Eden, they're not new to me. And I have to say, I absolutely believe she is the right person at the right time. And her name is Jill Vitale Awesome. So in closing, I will say I've had the privilege of leading really an amazing organization, and I will count my time as CEO of Eden amongst my greatest blessings in life. Now it's Jill's turn. I pass the baton of leadership to her. I'll no longer be CEO, but I will always be part of the Eden family. Let me turn it over to Jill Vitale Awesome, the new president and CEO of the Eden Alternative.
Good morning. I could not be more proud and honored to take this leadership role with this amazing organization and to continue the great work that's been done by Chris, the Eden Alternative team, the educators, the mentors, the guides, the international coordinators, and of course our founders. And Chris, thank you for all you've done to create a really great foundation moving forward. Let's have another round of applause for Chris. So I have been working in this field for a long time. And when I first became a nursing home administrator back in the late 90s, I wanted to understand what it was like for the people that lived in my community. So I asked the team members to admit me as a resident, just for 24 hours. How hard could it be? I wanted to see what it felt like to sleep there and dine there and go to programs there. And what I experienced disturbed me greatly. Within less than 24 hours, I was lonely, I was helpless, I was bored. And it wasn't because the team members weren't doing their jobs. it was because they were doing their jobs in the systems and the structures of the institutional model. They were doing what they thought I wanted them to do. And I knew things had to change because I couldn't live with myself as an administrator if this is the way people were living in my community. And so I started trying to make change, and I used hospitality training and customer service training and sensitivity training and everything I could think of, and nothing ever stuck. And as I went through my career and worked in assisted living communities and independent living communities, I found the same institutional stuff happening. And I couldn't figure out how to create that deep and lasting change until I went to a certified Eden associate training 10 years ago. And who's been to a certified Eden associate training in this room? It's life-changing, right? And it did change my life. And I finally had the tools and the structure and the philosophy to actually create lasting change. And that's what I've spent the last 10 years doing, is implementing the Eden principles in all different kinds of living settings. And what was fascinating to me is it not only improved the quality of life for the people that lived and worked in the community and the family members, it improved my quality of life too. Because a lot of the problems I was facing as an administrator, regulatory challenges and financial challenges and occupancy challenges and turnover, those things were addressed by the Eden Alternative too. So I am thrilled to continue this journey that I've been on for the last 10 years in this new role. You know, Steve Jobs said that the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that do. I'm one of those crazy people. Who's with me? We've already started to change the world, and I look forward to working with all of you as we continue that. I will be here until Sunday morning. I would love to take this opportunity, as Chris said, when we're all together, to get to know you, talk with you, and then over time, keep connected, and so I can continue to learn from you. And just thank you for this opportunity. I'm honored, and I look forward to working with all of you as we move ahead. So thank you very much. And I'd like to invite Kathy and Suzette to the stage for the Eden Alternative Awards.
Good morning. Welcome to the 2018 Eden Alternative Awards celebration. The journey to person-directed care is long, rewarding, and sometimes challenging. Individuals and organizations committed to creating caring communities deserve to be honored for the difference they make. I'm Suzette Molina.
And I'm Kathy Hagan from the Eden Alternative. And we want to acknowledge Signature Healthcare for sponsoring this award ceremony. Thank you. We're so proud of our entire team, our entire Eden Alternative family, and we want to recognize just a very few special people and organizations for their work in bringing the Eden Alternative to life. If you or your organization wins an award, please come up to the front of the room and you'll receive your award from our current CEO, Chris Perna, and our new CEO, Jill Vitale-Awesome. Then, please stay to get your picture taken by Meredith Martin. We begin with the Eden Employee Partner, the Eden Employee Care Partner Award.
We have 2 Eden Employee Care Partner Awards this year. The 2018 Eden Employee Care Partner Award recognizes the extraordinary efforts of the employee care partners in applying the Eden Alternative philosophy to creating a life worth living. Our first award goes to a person who constantly changes care challenges care partners to support a life worth living. He passionately views all that we do through Eden eyes. He educates on the Eden Alternative principles in the domains of well-being. He participates in all the registry networking calls with energy and enthusiasm. He embodies the Eden Alternative principles. He lives, breathes, and models them in a way that is difficult to replicate. He believes in collaboration of whole communities as we can accomplish more together than apart. And the first Eden Employee Care Partner Award goes to Ryan Bahan, Manager of Intergenerational Care, Eden Care Communities. Ryan is currently the Manager of Intergenerational Care and a certified Eden educator with Eden Care Communities. He leads an early learning child care, a community day and wellness program, and supports independent living with Eden Care at Home. Congratulations, Ryan. And our next Employee Care Partner Award goes to a person who invigorates her home with love and life. She ensures that elders stay connected with the community through local events and volunteer work. She has dedicated many days to providing food, clothing, and pet food to those experiencing homelessness in the community. She cares for elders who live with dementia and ensures that all their interests are explored by communicating with them in innovative ways. She and her family often take elders on vacation and they party like there's no tomorrow. She takes elders home for the holidays to her own home. Please join us in congratulating our other Employee Care Partner Award winner, Donna Lynn Walker. Donna is not able to be here today, but we'll make sure she gets her award when we get back home.
We have 2 Eden Elder Award winners this year. The Eden Elder Award recognizes the extraordinary efforts of an elder care partner in applying the Eden Alternative philosophy to creating a life worth living. Our first Eden Elder Award winner is a man who shares his own dementia journey with others. He helps those who live with dementia focus on finding and living their purpose in the midst of their journey. He's a certified Eden associate and has gone through Dementia Beyond Drugs training. He brings the most important perspective to light, the perspective of someone who lives with dementia himself. Care partners who learn from him are forever changed by his wisdom and openness. He serves on local, state, and national task groups and councils. This Eden Elder Award winner is Robert Bowles of Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations, Robert. Robert will be joining the deep dive session with Dr. Al Power and Karen Stobie entitled Rethinking Dementia, a Well-Being Approach. Our other Eden Elder Award winner is the first elder to complete Certified Eden Associate training in the Southern Hemisphere. She teaches English to new migrants at their local church. She's a valued member of the Eden Alternative Education team, always sharing her wisdom and knowledge. She feels that learning circles are vital for communication with and between care partners. She inspires people every day, and she's a wonderful example of elderhood in all its glory. This Eden Elder Award winner is Maria Tech of Elizabeth Knox Home in Auckland, New Zealand. Mrs. Tech is unable to be with us today, and Sally Hopkins from Eden and Oz is accepting the award for her, and we'll take it to New Zealand to present it to her. Congratulations, Maria. The Nancy Fox Leadership Award recognizes an individual who embodies leadership in thought, word, and deed through the Eden Alternative philosophy. The 2018 Nancy Fox Leadership Award goes to Sally Hopkins of Eden and Oz, New Zealand. A few years ago, a deep frost fell over Eden in Oz, Australia, New Zealand. Rather than stand by and watch as nearly 15 years of building up Eden and Oz was lost, Sally worked with the Board of Directors, the U.S. Board of Directors, to address the situation. Sally engineered a smooth transition to a new Board of Directors for Eden and Oz. She reassured customers to restore calm. She stabilized the finances and avoided bankruptcy. And she focused on renewed growth in Australia, New Zealand, and into Southeast Asia. Sally's exceptional leadership not only saved Eden and Oz, but has set the stage for new growth and expansion for years to come. We are grateful that Sally shares her passion and vision for the Eden Alternative as Vice Chair of the Board of Directors here in the U.S., reminding us always that we truly are an international organization. Thank you and congratulations, Sally Hopkins.
Hey, Nancy, why don't you come take a picture with Sally?
Yeah, Nancy.
The next award is the Eden Seedling Award. This award recognizes a care community or home and a community-based service new to the Eden Alternative journey that has demonstrated a level of commitment and progressiveness that challenges others to grow. This year, we are recognizing 2 homes from the same organization. Please join me in congratulating
You say it first.
Parker at Monroe and Parker at Stonegate. Come up. Parker at Monroe is a collection of small homes set up in neighborhoods to create a sense of community with a smaller number of elders. The employee care partners have blended roles and have training in other areas to support the home. They do not wear uniforms, and the elders and the employee care partners eat meals together. This structure has really allowed for great relationships to be formed with the elders, employees, and their families. The needs of the elders are always first, and the often spoken question is, would I do this in my own home? The commitment to person-centered journey also includes 38 certified Eden associates, which include all leadership and many informal leaders in the home. The connections that are formed are heartwarming and remind you that even when days are hard, they're doing the right thing for all care partners that live and work here. Parker at Stonegate is an assisted living like no other. They have always been focused on the individuals they serve and going above and beyond to meet their needs and expectations. They recognize how important each member's role is and how it impacts the independence of the elders. The programs offered are directly from the elders' choices and input, and often focuses on community service, such as making sandwiches for the local shelter or crocheting blankets for babies in the hospital. The biggest advocates and protectors of the residents' rights are the Stonegate employee care partners. They are the first to support residents' choice in figuring out how to support it. Also, the residents participate in quality action teams to help improve services in areas identified for growth. The true warmth and energy comes from those that live and work there and the employee care partners that support them. Congratulations. Our next award is the Eden Champion Award. This award recognizes the efforts of an individual and/or organization that champions the ongoing growth of the Eden Alternative philosophy, bringing it to life for those closest to them. This year, we are recognizing an organization and an individual with this award. Please join me in congratulating Signature Healthcare and Angie McAllister. If you're from a Signature home, you can come up and get your picture taken. And we know there's a lot of Signature people, so come on up. Don't be shy. You've earned it. Over the past 5 years, Signature Healthcare has added 50 communities across 4 states to the Eden Registry, and they now represent an incredible 1 out of every 4 registry members. This monumental effort has been championed by Angie McAllister and her team of dedicated care partners. Not one to rest on her laurels, Angie continues to push Signature homes forward on their journey and now has 17 Milestone 2 homes and several approaching Milestone 3 with more to come. It has been Angie McAllister's tireless efforts and the support of her corporate leadership, Chris Cox in particular, that have produced these amazing results. Not only is Angie the Eden champion within Signature, her influence is also felt across the culture change movement. As an Eden Alternative board member, a presenter at industry conferences, a frequent contributor to McKnight's Long-Term Care magazine, and a published researcher. Angie is also well known for her Facebook posts and capturing elders from Signature homes on vacations all around the country. She helps to plan, organize, and accompanies all of the elder trips. Angie continually shows her boundless energy as she travels from state to state and home to home, driven by a desire to create a life worth living for all of the elders and her fellow Signature care partners. Visit any Signature registry member and you will see and hear all of the Eden principles coming to life every day. Thank you, Angie, and thank you, Signature Healthcare. The Eden Gardener Award recognizes the unwavering commitment of a care community or community-based service to bring the Eden Alternative principles to life in daily practice. Please join me in congratulating Sherbrooke Community Center. Oh, sorry. Don't. Sherbrooke Community Center supports each person to live a full and abundant life, creating a diverse habitat where children, plants, and animals are a natural part of everyday life. They support quality of life and growth of each individual and the community as a whole. They strive to provide each elder with companionship, opportunities to give and receive care in a diverse environment, rich with spontaneity and variety. They are a shining example of true community. They exude excellence in living the Eden Alternative 10 principles and creating well-being for all that live and work there. They have been on the Eden Registry for 19 years, and they were the first registry member in the galaxy to achieve all 4 milestones.
We have a new award for 2018. The Bill and Jude Thomas Lifetime Achievement Award. Here I go.
Oh, no. I got nothing.
The Bill and Jude Thomas Lifetime Achievement Award recognizes a very special individual who has dedicated his or her life to living and teaching the Eden Alternative philosophy, and for doing so with joy and enthusiasm, determination, and with overwhelming heart and soul. Don't look at Jude.
Okay.
our first Lifetime Achievement Award winner, learned about and started sharing the Eden Alternative philosophy in 1995. She had an infectious laugh and a brilliant smile and spirit. She taught certified Eden Associate training to thousands of people across the Northeast United States and beyond. She was a mentor to many Eden Alternative family members, and she was known for her passion, inspiration, and kindness. The very first Bill and Jude Thomas Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Susan Berta of Rochester, New York. Sadly, Susan passed away at the end of last year after a long battle with cancer. Her daughter will receive the award when we return to Rochester. Susan learned about the Eden Alternative at a presentation by Rosemary Fagan, who's here today, in Rochester in 1995, where she met Bill Thomas. Susan was the first person to bring the Eden Alternative to Dr. Al Power. She taught certified Eden Associate training to Sue Ellen Beatty and Cheryl George of Sherbrooke Community Center, who are now the first home to reach milestone 4. Susan would be so proud of you. Susan was one of the first certified Eden Associates, Eden educators, and the regional coordinator for the Northeast United States. Jude Thomas says, "I've never met a person with more dedication and belief in the Eden principles. Her enthusiasm and dedication was contagious." From Bill Thomas, Susan was a light in this world. Her spirit radiated joy and possibility. Jude and I felt that joy and experienced the possibility of growth and change every day we worked with Susan. The Eden Alternative we know and love today was built in large part by her passion, energy, and commitment to her work. We will be forever grateful. Thank you, Susan Berta, our first Bill and Jude Thomas Lifetime Achievement Award winner. This concludes the Eden Alternative Awards ceremony. Congratulations to all our winners. Our keynote speaker for this morning is an educator, scholar, and an artist whose work focuses on the potential for the arts and humanities to improve quality of life as communities and individuals. She is a MacArthur Fellow, an Ashoka Fellow, a PhD in theater arts, and author of books, articles, plays, and performances. She is the founder of Time Slips, and she is an instigator of wonder. When she isn't advising on the burgeoning field of arts and aging and giving keynote addresses across the world on the power and potential of creative engagement, she is a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where she lives with her husband Brad and their 2 sons, Ben and Will. And I want to thank Schlegel Villages for their generous sponsorship of this event. Please help me welcome Ann Basting.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be like emotionally recovering while I'm actually talking to you, so I appreciate that. And I just want to take a quick moment to thank Kathy and Misty and Karen, who embraced the true essence of yes and, trying to figure out, what is this book you're bringing? What are you shipping? What is this thing you're doing? It's very hard to describe, as you'll see. I also want to add to my bio that about 4 years ago, in my career, I hit the rocket fuel of meeting Angie McAllister. And it's been a little bit of like boom since then. So you'll see a lot of that reflected here. So we all know these numbers. These are numbers. We just know them, right? This affects what we do every day. How we react to these numbers is really the challenge. How the world reacts to these numbers is the mountain that we push against every day. It influences people's attitudes about the work that we do, the people who are hired within our organizations, the people that we're in relationships with every day. This is part of the challenge. And this is how we've reacted, really, to these numbers and how people continue to react to these numbers. We isolate. As a culture, we move people into separate places. We try to compartmentalize frailty, concepts of mortality, the fact that in the natural life course, we don't want to understand it. We want to move it to the side. We don't want to talk about it. We had to change, we had to wrestle for now almost 20 years to be able to get doctors to be able to address end-of-life care with us and have it paid for, right? We're on a threshold of that moment of change, but we have a long way to go. What are we afraid of? And what is the impact of those attitudes that we have about those numbers? Youth see elders as ineffectual, warm but incompetent. That is the prevailing stereotype view. When you ask young college students what they want to do with their lives, the vast majority want to work with children. 3% of MSWs say that they want to work with older people. We need 97% of them to work with older people. We have a long way to go to push against these cultural attitudes about aging. Older adults with negative attitudes about aging live 7.5 years less. That's us. That's us in the making. That's everyone who embodies a negative attitude about aging and what's possible in the beauty of the life course should we live that long. Social isolation is the health risk equivalent of 15 cigarettes a day. This cost of separation and the way we've built our communities so that we have to create, we've created a yearning for independence and isolation. I'm gonna live in my home as long as I possibly can, so that we now have created a world in which we have to create entire home delivered meal systems so that we can support people who live alone and who are isolated. The way we've structured this world is untenable for a natural component of our life course. What if we ask people what they're afraid of, and the research tells us through something called terror management theory that we're afraid of mortality. And the link that we associate why we're afraid of older people and we're in denial and we separate is because we associate older people with mortality. Funny thing about that research, if you look into it, those psychology professors used a very, very available sample study pool of people. Those were college students. If you actually ask older people what they're afraid of, it's meaninglessness. I'm afraid my life will become, now I'm all, you guys prime me with that, it's your fault. I'm afraid my life will become meaningless. Long about the 19th century, didn't think you were gonna get a history lesson, did you? We separated the culture-making spheres and the health spheres. Meaningfulness, the places where we associated with meaning making in our communities, became separated from the places where we receive health care. What a weird move to completely separate those things. In the last 20 years, we've been seeing this slow integration of these things. How can we integrate, again, meaningfulness into health and wellness? Wellness is actually a really key thing when you start considering the merger back of the culture and meaning making with health. So what if we integrated the arts in their full capacity to generate meaning making back into healthcare? Thus far, it's happened in 3 basic ways. Environmentally, You guys all put beautiful pictures in the hallways, right? Or you exhibit the artwork of elders. You have music available to people. It's environmental. It's sort of in the water of your day. Entertainment. Musicians come into play, right? That's a classic model, and it's educational, tends to be a little more passive. That's also a very important component. And then there's engagement and co-creation, where the elders themselves, the participants in our communities, the lifeblood of our communities, co-create with us and with artists something meaningful and beautiful. You give the tools of culture making and meaning making back into the health setting, back to the elders themselves. On that creative engagement layer, there are 3 levels that work happens. And it's very similar to what we were just talking about in relationships and then also in the community level itself. But I take it 1 level higher, which is that you can infuse meaning making into everyday moments. You can also put it into programming, which is what you guys are experts at. And then you can also infuse it into the system and the community level itself so that the community becomes part of one huge collaborative project. And by community, I mean the larger, at the 34,000-foot view, the community at large, not just the communities that you work in. A question that I usually ask is, what if the programming you were doing in your care communities was so interesting that families wanted to come in? What time are you doing that program? I'd like to come in and do that with my husband, with my father, with my mother. It's just really interesting programming. What if programming was so interesting you had a list of community organizations that wanted to come in and partner with you on it because it's just so interesting and meaningful? That work, I'm not going to go over this whole list, but that work is what we've come to call creative communities of care. The systems are open to cultural organizations, to all kinds of community partners. The doors to the community are open. It's accessible. Whatever programming you're doing is open and accessible to people at every ability level, whether it's cognitive or physical abilities. It's immersive. It soaks itself into the daily rhythms of the organization. It's asset-based. It builds on strengths, that identifies strengths and then builds on those strengths from wherever they are, from staff, from volunteers, from elders, from family members. It's durational. It dares to do something over time in a long-term care setting where people pass away as a normal part of everyday life, and which has tended to pressure us to create programming that's more shorter duration. But if you did a 2-year project, you allow time for incredible collaboration with the community to build and for meaningfulness to build over time. It has rigor and cultural value. It's not quaint. It's not a sweet little art project that somebody did, but it's the real McCoy. It is meaningful. Examples of this, and many of you have heard me probably talk about the Penelope Project before. 2 years taking on Homer's Odyssey to retell the story in collaboration with a professional theater company, an entire care community from independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, and adult day, with the radical concept that they all collaborate on a project together. They had never collaborated on programming together across all those levels of care. And also a university where students were trained to come in and facilitate and be part of the co-meaning making together. We ended up, this is a picture of Lenny Cruz, our choreographer, who worked with the elders, teaching them Hawaiian gestural language, and it was just a stunning part of the final piece, which was a professionally produced play, stage site specifically moving through the care community in different scenes. In the Faith and Education Center, in the first one, the chapel, the Skilled Nursing Center for the second, the Welcome Center for the third, the Assisted Living Banquet, our dining hall was the banquet hall where we slayed 108 suitors. That was quite dicey. We had to clear that one in 5 minutes because everyone outside was waiting to go in and eat dinner. Quick, quick, turn over the set. And then the final one was the final scene back in the Faith and Education Center on the dais, the stage of their chapel. Hidden behind a curtain was an open call for anyone in the community who wanted to play Penelope. It was a chorus that was open, and it was all call and response. So you had on the stage people with cognitive disabilities, people with family members who were participating together, staff. One of my favorite stories of that is that there was a woman who lived in independent living whose husband had moved to the nursing center after a stroke, and their daughter came in, and they were all next to each other on stage participating and playing Penelope together. That's the scene in the dining hall of with Odysseus revealing himself as he shoots an arrow through 12 axe handles with the assistance of Caroline Imhoff, who was playing Athena, who drove that arrow through 12 axe handles. And then he's revealed to be Odysseus, and they slay the 108 suitors, which were symbolized by, we asked all the CARE community members, what do you endure? And they gave really wonderful answers, everything from dementia to my annoying sister-in-law. And every time a suitor was slayed, we said one of those things that was slain. The last one was guilt. This is a scene from the stage of from the view of the chorus of Penelope looking out over the audience. And I just want to point out the kind of corsage that's crocheted flowers that were all created by the people who live in the nursing center. Part of that project was working with students. And we've now really identified 3 layers in which to engage students in this work in a meaningful way. The first one is like a baby step in to a positive experience because this need that we have to bring in more young people into this field. And that's volunteerism in a positive framework. So they're trained, and then they come in and do about a semester, 8 weeks of creative engagement over the course of that time. Many of them now, at my university, we've been doing this for 5 years. Many of them repeat semesters, and they're from every possible discipline, from nursing to social work to theater to psychology to English to anthropology. They're all collaborating together to facilitate storytelling. The second is embedding it into coursework across different disciplines, and that's in service learning. And the final one I want to address is really the deep embedding of students into this work, living in care communities as student artists in residence. This is just an overview slide of some of the work we've been doing for the past 5 years, embedding students in year-long placements as artists, becoming part of the community. The first 2 months is just asset-based community development. They're just immersing themselves and learning that community. What is the org structure here? Where are the assets, the people who are the leaders from the elder side, from the staff side, from the family? Who are the movers and shakers, and how do we identify that? They have an elder mentor and a staff mentor, and then they come together as the 3 of them to identify a goal to guide their work for the semester, for the year. That culminates in a final celebration, and also in a joint, all of the student artists and residents then have a joint exhibit that we call the Flourish Fest. This is one of my favorite pictures. One of our student artists in residence who was living at East Castle Place in Milwaukee was also a muralist, and he went into he took a field trip with the elders into the Black Cat Alley where he had a mural, and then they went to a nearby coffee shop for some conversation. Molly is working at St. John's with people with dementia. There she's creating felt soap. She's now in her 2nd year working at East Castle Place. Erin lived at High Point, Ovation High Point in Milwaukee, became very beloved by that community, and it was a rather emotional time when she graduated. This was her exhibit at, we asked them to write some of their journal entries on the wall at the Flourish Fest. Don't spend your time with a bully. This is advice from Thelma, her good friend. Find the best catch. Even through the crummy days, look at the good things you've been given. That is what matters. I love you too. Now go do your homework. She talked about a moment, the Sarah students talk about a moment when they call it the "you live here" moment, where they just get used to seeing the students so much that then after about 2 months, they say, wait a minute, you're here a lot. Do you live here? Is something wrong with you? And they're like, I live here to be part of the community and to make art with you. It's quite lovely. Thorin gave a very emotional talk at the end of his year living at Luther Manor. He's a theater BFA acting student who worked and ran writing groups, and they all shared their writing as part of the Flourish Fest. And one night when his theater company fell through their place where they were going to perform Richard III, Luther Manor opened their doors and they came out and performed Richard III at the care community. So putting those pieces together, those things about the community transformation, the creative communities of care, the student work, collaborating with professional artists and the rigor of the arts world, what are we up to? So part of the rocket fuel I've been doing is a project that's going on right now. We call it our I Won't Grow Up, a creative community of care project. We are working with 12 rural nursing homes. They're all signature homes across Kentucky to learn creative engagement techniques, explore the themes gleaned from 6 themes, which I'll tell you about from the story of Peter Pan, create an original performance and art exhibits in 3 regions, and celebrate the incredible capacity for imagination and the drive outward. We talk about reversing the river. Commonly, volunteers come in or students come in to gather stories, sort of extract them from the elders. The elders are responsible for gathering the stories of their community as part of this project. It's civil monetary penalty funding from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services in collaboration with the Office of Inspector General from the state of Kentucky and Signature Healthcare. The artists have been assembled from a national team, which I'll show you in a second, as well as regional artists who will be in place and to be able to continue the work when we're done. A world-class artistic team with a choreographer out of Chicago, a site-specific set designer out of New Orleans who's already setting my imagination on fire by imagining how we can magically create theatrical sets just very simply in the care homes themselves. He said, can we flip over those panels on the drop ceilings and create something on them so that they're hidden and then they're revealed? And I said, oh yeah. I love the way you think. Andy Rudloff, who's artist in residence in Region 1, who's a muralist and a visual artist. Cheyenne Mize, who's a professional musician and a music therapist in Region 2, based in Hodgenville. Bobby Martin, who's a theater artist and sort of an artist of all kinds, based in Broadhead in Region 3, which is kind of near Lexington. And then our production manager for the second year, Nicole Garneau, who'll be making sure those festivals all happen. Here you see the regions. So come spring of 2019, they'll be staggered. The festivals will happen at the beginning of April, the beginning of May, and the beginning of June. So make a road trip. And it'll be a long one, I know, for the people from New Zealand, but it's worth it. The 6 themes are going to be, and we had one of my PhD creative writing students at UWM worked with me on coming up with these, and they're just stunning. What are the experiences of childhood and adulthood? What are the sounds, the tastes, the stories, the music, the games? What are those things of both childhood and adulthood so that we understand what this tension is between that passage? Creating a giant book of bedtime stories, because Peter initially comes to the window because they don't have bedtime stories in Neverland, and Mrs. Darling is reading the stories. So what are the bedtime stories of your community? Flying, of course, we have to do that. When Wendy crash lands in Neverland, she's shot down, but we're going to avoid that conversation. The Lost Boys build a home around her. which is this weird image. They're trying to make it comfortable, but it is also sort of confinement because they're trying to keep her there. It's like, geez, I don't know. It's pretty sensitive for this whole field. What is the meaning of home to people? And they sing a song. They create an original song about it. So we'll be doing that as well. The nanny, if you remember, in Peter Pan is what? A Newfoundland dog. We are not making the comparison between caregivers and dogs. We are simply saying, what is unconditional love? And what does it feel like to accept it and to give it? And we've actually put a task. One of the challenges is we're going to have each care community come up with like a nurse's station, which I know we're dismantling, but if we could create an unconditional love station, what would it be? What would it feel like? What are the qualities of childhood and adulthood? What are the qualities of childhood that we want every child to experience? Because not all children experience childhood. What are the qualities of adulthood that we want all adults to experience? Because not all adults get to experience adulthood. How can we turn toward our communities to advocate for that? Which organizations in those communities are doing that work, and how can we collaborate beyond the doors of our own organizations to advocate for that kind of care in our larger communities at the 34,000-foot view level? A couple of years ago, we trained 50 nursing homes across the state of Wisconsin, also with the Civil Monetary Penalty Fund, in creative communities of care training. What you see in the blue dots are those nursing homes across the entire state. The red dots are the cultural organizations that collaborated with us in Wisconsin. And those cultural organizations, we worked with them to get prompts to provide to those communities that were meaningful. So we picked cultural organizations that weren't necessarily high art. We picked ones that were accessible. The Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame up in Hayward. Any Wisconsinites in the room? Yeah, right. The Circus World Museum, a beloved place in Baraboo, Wisconsin, always fun to say. The Children's Museum in Madison. The Historic Cheesemaking Center in Monroe, because we have to, because we're in Wisconsin. The the Museum of Wisconsin Art and the Maritime Preservation Program of the Wisconsin Historical Society that I was just calling the Shipwreck Museum, but they didn't like that word, so they made me call it that long, cumbersome name. And we have all the prompts around creative conversations, around beautiful questions, around creative storytelling, and around projects that they could pull together. They also just used the prompts from the Time Slips website as well, just to create stories. Hundreds of stories came in. We had the hard task. We had a National Endowment for the Arts grant to winnow them down to 5. We took those 5 back out to the elder communities and asked them to read them aloud and to choreograph them. They choreographed them, we recorded them reading them aloud. We took the stories, the choreography, and the audio recording to an animator. That animator made some beautiful animations that we're going to share with you now. Part woven into the animation is opportunities for you to, you have some cups that you can clink, I see on the tables, but you'll see that there's this is why we call this keynote karaoke, because there's movements you can do, and we'll teach you with each one of these, and singing that you can do along with us. It's karaoke led through the stories told by people in Wisconsin nursing homes, created by people in Wisconsin nursing homes. We also collaborated with 2 printmakers who took those 5 stories and created images here into what they call the Book of Connections. And I'll afterwards, if you're curious, you can see that when you fold it together, 2 panels connect to give you the meaning of the stories and the images. And it's actually on both sides. This book is just really beautiful. We also created little books of all the stories and sent them back out to the care communities as well. So now I get the great privilege to introduce you to the first animation. It has a song in it that we all get to sing. I'm also going to let the folks come up. They were going to move the podium, and I'll just keep talking over that. Oh, here they are. There you are. Thanks. So this one, you'll see, has a little song in it that comes from the elders themselves. They supplied it as part of the song. The prompt image was two young men fishing. So here is the first. Go ahead. Do you need any help? Okay. That looks heavy. I'm scared for you. All right. And Amy, I do this first, or are you guys coming up first? Okay. I want to introduce you to Amy Sutheimer, who is a student artist in residence at Luther Manor, leading a communal dance. She's a dance major who's graduating in a few short weeks. Next week, actually. I don't mean to give you hyperventilation, but I believe it's next week. All right. So here is...
I'm from Milwaukee and I ought to know. It's Blatz Blue, Blatz beer, wherever you go. Smoother, smoother, that's filling, that's clear. Blatz is Milwaukee's finest beer.
All right, everybody.
I'm from Milwaukee and I ought to know. It's Blatz Blue, Blatz beer, wherever you go. Smoother, smoother, that's filling, that's clear. Blatz is Milwaukee's finest beer.
By Jackie, Florence, Gloria, Gert, Barb, Bonnie, Janina, Laverne, Shirley, Bob, and Betty. On March 16, 2017, two kids wishing for fishing. One's got a gun. They got two bubbles. What do you call them? David and Susan. Looks very good and very happy. Big grin on his face. It's Lake Michigan. The water, seagulls, bah, bah. They're awful noisy. They're out there. Must have been warm out. They don't have much on. Drinking Blatz beer wherever you go.
I'm from Milwaukee and I ought to know. It's Blatz Blue, Blatz beer, wherever you go. Smoother, smoother, that's filling, that's clear. Blatz is Milwaukee's finest beer.
He's a fisherman, beautiful and wet. Swing and sweat with Charlie Barnett. He looks like he knows everybody. They were ambitious children. They're just out fishing. They just look like they're having a good time. They have bobbers and poles. They've got bobbers on their heads. I've got bobbers on my head. They look like nice boys. They haven't done anything wrong today. They do nice things. There are lots of stories in here.
So the next one has some movement in it. Let me teach you. Actually, do you want to help me teach them the different things for the participation, or am I doing that? Okay.
Doesn't matter.
You and me both, baby. All right, it's your last test.
Okay. There will just be movements that will be on each side of the stage, about halfway through the piece, and there'll be some cues. So this half of the stage is going to be the saxophone, and you'll see, and the lovely dancers will guide you along, and we really hope you enjoy it, participate with us. And then this side of the stage will be drums, and we'll do the movements for you guys to follow along. So it should be pretty clear when it comes up, I think.
Yep, the elders created more, but we identified 2 movements for each instrument. And this first one for the saxophone is up and down. Up, come on peeps, down. Up and down. Second movement, side to side. Don't do what we're doing because you'll hit each other. Ready? Side to side, side. So the first movement for the drums, just like that, either way.
The drums actually have 3 movements.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, we do.
Uh-oh, okay.
Yeah, the second movement is clapping your cymbals. There you go. And then the final movement is just big
Bang.
bangs. There you go.
This is a new development for me. Okay, so those are the things that you'll be seeing inside. There's also a sing-along inside this one. It'll speak for itself.
Yeah.
Ready?
Let's start at the top.
Starting at the top.
This story was created on January 12th, 1917 by Betty, Dale, Darlene, Dorothy, Ed, Janet, Judy, Mel, Mildred, and Vi at Mulder Health Care Center. It is fall in downtown Milwaukee. Two men are entertaining a bar group at night. One guy is on the drums, one guy is on the saxophone. They are inside a tavern with glass behind them. The drummer has a cymbal and a hitting bell. He is wearing beads and has long hair. Anybody else?
You can keep going if you want. Are you tired? Okay.
The guy on the sax is really enjoying playing. He sure looks good. Drunkards are making noise. Oh my. Glasses cleaning. People dancing around in the music. Hands clapping. The guy says to the bartender, "Set him up again, Joe." The drummer's name is Harry, and the sax player's name is Johnny. Harry and Johnny are sweethearts or just good friends. Their wives are always at home with the kids while they're playing. They are just about done before leaving to go home. They don't know how long they've been playing because they have been in the tavern too long. Uh-oh. The song playing is Good Night, Irene, soon to be followed by Show Me the Way to Go Home. Then the owner will say, "Everybody out."
sometimes I get a great notion to dance this mess around. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
We wrote that, huh?
We wrote that.
Oh, that's kind of cute. This is a fun thing to do. Yeah, some people probably would think we're nuts, but I like it.
I like it too.
I like it.
All right. Do you want to go ahead? So now I'm going to turn it over to Amy. We thought as a nice parting thing, we would teach you the choreography method that you can take home. But first, to do that, we have to actually read a story together, a new story, so it's the true definition of karaoke. So as you see this come across the screen, just go ahead and read it with us. Is it coming across the screen? A big fish from here to there, said Art. Alice says her name is Celeste. She's 48 years old. That's a whale. Art thinks it could be a walleye. Alice says Celeste caught the fish in Houston at Lake Ashapin. She went with other grown-ups, husbands, wives, and sisters, brothers and friends. They had a fishing outing to see who can catch the biggest fish, and Celeste won. Her husband is cleaning the fish. Celeste loves fishing. She likes to catch the big ones. The little ones she throws back in. She'll be good going home to cook the fish. She's going to invite the neighbors over for a cookout. She had enough of fishing. She won't be going for a while, said Leona. She's taking a respite, said Alice. Pause. Thank you. Did I do that? Awesome. That worked. Although, did it turn off? Okay. Go ahead, Amy.
Cool, perfect. Well, like Anne said, my name is Amy, and I'm a dance student at the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. And I'm here today to share with you how you can create amazing dance moves like you just saw us do from the story that we just read. The first thing that I want to start by saying is you can do this in a wide variety of settings. You could do this one-on-one or in a large group. The age and ability level also does not matter because there's any way to make it work. So, one of my favorite ways to create dance moves is to pick a line in the story, which it's not up currently, but one of my favorite lines from the story was, she's going to invite her neighbors for a cookout. The idea in this sentence that sticks out to me is cookout. So when I think of cookout, I think of flipping burgers, or stirring freshly squeezed lemonade, or applying layers of sunscreen so I don't get burned. you can see that all three of these movement ideas came from the one word of cookout. Now, when you're working with seniors, they may be a little nervous to create dance moves, and maybe you would be too. So that's okay. You can just start by having a conversation of activities that they would want to do at a cookout. They'll give you some of their thoughts, and then you can say, that's awesome. How would you do that? Could you show me? They're gonna give you some type of movement, and it doesn't matter how small or big it is because you can work with it. So for our example of the cookout, let's say we choose to flip burgers 4 times. If that's the movement that you choose to do, it's really important to do those 4 sets of flipping burgers 3 times. The first time we flip the burgers for 4 sets is for everyone to realize that we're moving. Then the second time we flip the burgers for 4 sets, it's for everybody to understand what that movement is, and they can learn it. Then the final time we do the 4 sets of flipping burgers is so everyone can fully embody the movement and just have fun. It might feel like an awkward amount of time, but I promise you it is not. So now that I just really briefly described how to create movement, we are going to invite you all to create movement today. So we're going to split this big room into 3 groups, and then we're also going to split the story into 3 groups. Each group is going to have a leader, which their purpose will be exposed to you later. But for right now, I'm going to split you guys up. So it's a little hard, so you might just have to make the final decision for yourself which group you're in. But I'm gonna put a line down this way. So here and over, you guys are going to be group 1, and your leader is Anna. So you'll look to her later. But for right now, your portion of the story is going to be from the beginning all the way up to husbands, wives, sisters, brothers, and friends. So group 1, would you read this portion of the story with me together? A big fish from here to there, said Art. Alice says her name is Celeste. She's 48 years old. That's a whale. Art thinks it could be a walleye. Alice says Celeste caught the fish in Hustiford at Lake Ashapin. She went with other grown-ups, husbands, wives, sisters, brothers, and friends. Awesome. So group 1, that's your section of the story. Now, from about here all the way over to about there, you are group 2, and your leader is Susan. Your part of the story will be they had a fishing outing up until the little ones she throws back in. So group 2, would you read your portion of the story with me? They had a fishing outing to see who can catch the biggest fish, and Celeste won. Her husband is cleaning the fish. Celeste loves fishing. She likes to catch the big ones. The little ones she throws back in. Great. And as you can assume, the rest of you guys are all group 3, and your leader is Laura. And so group 3, will you read from she'll be going home to cook the fish to the end of the story with me, please? She'll be going home to cook the fish. She's going to invite the neighbors over for a cookout. She's had enough of fishing. She won't be going for a while, said Leona. She's taking a respite, said Alice. Great. So now that you all know who your groups are and what portion of the story you're going to get inspiration from for movement, I invite you to talk with your individual tables and come up with a movement idea. It can be anything from very literal to abstract. Again, it does not matter. And don't overthink it, because the first thing that comes to your thoughts is amazing and usually the best bet for you guys. So we're going to give you 1 minute to create moves. So go. So now, you probably saw some of our men and women in black walking around. They were looking for some common movement themes out of all of you. And now each of our leaders is going to hand select a couple moves that they saw, and then we're going to perform them together. So first, Anna, what were some moves that you saw?
Combine two into one.
Great. Oh, okay, everyone do it with Anna. Nice, I love it. All right, Susan, what did you find for group 2?
And then there was this. And then
Awesome. All right, group 2, do practice those moves with Susan. They're great. Awesome, I love it. All right, group 3, Laura, what did you see?
flipping the fish,
Ooh.
inviting the neighbors over, and I've had enough.
Oh, I love it. All right, group 3, let's do those moves with Laura.
Flipping the fish,
Awesome. So now we are going to do that with music. We're going to have group 1 go, and then group 2, and then group 3. And if you get lost or confused, we have your leaders here, so just look to them. So whenever you're ready, if we could have the music. Oh, yes, please stand. You guys all had amazing range of movement. One thing I want to say just before I leave you is that when you're working with seniors, they're going to have differing abilities for range of motion, but whenever I go in and I do a dance workshop, I'm always moving to my full potential, and I just say to them, do whatever you feel comfortable for today and go to your own limits because they know their body's the best. But you do your full limit, and I promise you, they will surprise you and go just a little further, and it'll be wonderful. So thank you all, you were great.
Stay here, Sandra. Thank you to the dancers, and I also just wondered if you could describe really briefly your community dance that you've been doing at Luther Manor.
Cool. Okay, so I am a student artist in residence, which is one of the programs Anne was talking about. And I'm paired with Luther Manor, which is that vibrant community you saw doing the Penelope Project. So they're a lot of fun. I am investigating social dance qualities and how dance can build the community in such a large campus through all of the care centers. So geographically, it's really hard to get them all together in one room many times. So what we've been doing is we are starting what I like to call a traveling dance. And I investigate just simple conversations that we have with them. We talk about what they've done with their lives, what they're doing right now, and what they still want to do. And from these conversations, we have developed moves. So I went to healthcare and they created a dance, and then I took that dance that they created and I went to Adult Day. And Adult Day learned healthcare's dance and then added on to it. And we just kept going throughout all of the centers, and in less than a month, we're gonna bring them all together in one room and perform this big dance that they've all helped contributing to together, which I'm really excited about.
It's just a really nice teacher moment to have a student just so completely absorb and understand the concepts and the love of this work. And I'm just really thankful for what you're doing. It's really beautiful work. I also want to say that last night, Amy lives in Milwaukee and goes to UWM. And you're going to get really embarrassed now, but last night her boyfriend came down and surprised her in Atlanta and proposed.
There's a woman who actually saw it happen, too. She was there when it happened.
So I hope that you take from this work a little bit of inspiration about what the arts can do when we bring meaning making and culture making back in to everyone at every level. That is so interesting and engaging that it's not a program only for the elders or even lifted and from the elders themselves, but engaging opportunities for people to work with staff and with family and with volunteers and with community organizations to send out that ripple effect of what can happen when you make meaning together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anne and Amy. That was really terrific. Very engaging, which is what we're all about here, is engagement. Just a note of caution for all of you here. We do have a tendency at Eden to make relationships, lasting relationships, marital relationships. Bill and Jude met, in the earliest days of Eden through a help wanted ad, and the rest is history, as they say. So we had an engagement. A member of our board, Peter Reed, and Jennifer Carson, his spouse, met at the Eden Conference 6 years ago, got married. We highlighted Susan Berta, the love of Susan's life, Joe Berta. They met through Eden. So be careful. Something in the water at Eden conferences. So just want to again thank Anne and recognize our award winners. We decided to do the awards ceremony this morning so that you would all know who they are for the entire duration of the conference. Please seek them out, the individuals, the organizations. They have unbelievable stories to tell. They're ready to share. So we decided to do that on the front end so we can all take advantage of getting to meet these incredible people and hear about them and their organizations' journeys. So please take advantage of that. And I also, again, want to thank Signature and Schlegel Villages for sponsoring a lot of our activity this morning. So I got a couple of housekeeping items to take care of. First is, if you haven't downloaded our conference app yet, please do. It is Eden Alt 2018. It's out on the App Store. We're going to use that app to communicate with you throughout the next 3 days. It's got an interactive map of the hotel. It's got all the scheduling. It's got speaker names. It's got all the attendees, so if you want to find somebody. So there are just many, many uses to that. Please download it and make sure you use that. And take advantage of the social media components. Let's engage with each other. Let's play a little bit. Let's take pictures and get those out there. We want to spread the word. The unfortunate thing is not everybody can be here, but we have 450 people here representing lots of organizations, lots of different states, lots of different countries. Let's send information back to the folks that we know so they can participate at least indirectly in what we're doing here. I want to point out that there's an Eden bookstore on this level, on the far end of this level. It's in the Arden room, which is room number 9. If you're on the app and you're looking at the interactive map, it's room number 9. We have a lot of useful resources there. Just go check it out. There's also a silent auction for a beautiful handmade quilt that represents the 12 months of the year. It's really spectacular, completely handmade from upstate New York, so please take a look at that. We're doing a little silent auction on that. We also have book signings this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, so stop by, meet the authors, and hopefully pick up a copy of their book and get it signed. Next to the bookstore, again, this is on the far end of the floor here, next to the bookstore is the Eden Living Room. That's a tradition. So we set up sofas, soft chairs, etc. It's a place to just go get off your feet, hang out a little bit, and members of the Eden team, members of our board will be there. So it's a chance to strike up a conversation and say hello and chat a little bit and learn some more about the Eden Alternative if you choose to. But it's just a place to chill out a little bit and hang out in the craziness of a 3-day conference. Also want to point out that next to the living room is 2 side-by-side signs recognizing organizations that are part of what we call the Eden Registry. And I'm not going to go into detail about what that is, but you can learn more by talking to some folks in the living room and stopping by. But the signage is meant to recognize organizations that are moving through what we call the path to mastery. That is, they're progressing on their culture change journey. So represented on those 2 signs are organizations that in the last 2 years, since we last gathered together for a conference, organizations that have either joined the registry or have made a progression through milestones on the path to mastery as part of the registry. So it's a way of recognizing them because it is hard work. We know that, and we thought that was a nice way to especially recognize those folks. And unfortunately, we have a cutoff date for all the information that goes on those signs, and then there's always those organizations that fall into the crack, and we don't want to miss them. So I just want to acknowledge here, and I have to say there's a method to my madness here too, because this organization I'm going to mention now happens to be run by the chairman of the Eden board. And it's not just to butter him up, because I'm leaving, so I don't need to suck up to him anymore. The point is that here's a guy running the board of directors of the Eden Alternative who walks the talk, okay? He models the behavior, and it's so important. You're going to hear throughout the next 3 days how important leadership is to a successful culture change journey. Leadership has got to be on board. Leadership has to help drive it. Leadership has to create an environment where it can happen. And Chris Cheek, the chairman of the Eden board, is such a leader. So I just want to mention the fact that in the last 2 weeks, since the cutoff date for that signage, we had, let's see, I gotta make sure I get the names here. Peachtree Village became the first US-based Milestone 4 community. Okay. They just edged out Magnolia Village, which is Milestone 4 as well. They beat them out by a week. I imagine it was a little internal competition going on there. But want to recognize them as well. And then finally, the third, which is River Chase Village, which achieved Milestone 3. So they're knocking on the door of those other 2 communities. So 3 organizations, all in the state of Mississippi, all run by the same organization called Century Care. So I really wanted to call them out and recognize them. And then I also want to reinforce the idea that we're an international organization here. You've heard about New Zealand, Australia, some other, Canada. So I want to recognize the fact that we do have folks all the way from New Zealand and Australia who are part of registry members that far away. So we have registries in virtually all the countries where we do business. We have about 200 registry members in the US, but we have another 120 or so around the globe in other countries. So all told, we have well over 300 registry members around the globe who are all committed to person-directed care using the Eden philosophy. So I just want to call out Anam Kara, Bethesda Caring Center, both from Australia, and Kumo Village from New Zealand. Welcome and thank you. Okay, last thing. Yep. Last thing quickly. 2 of today's sessions have been canceled. So if you go to those rooms, you'll see on the sign that they're canceled, but I want to give you a heads up. Session CC1B, which was scheduled for 1:30 today. Well-being is the driver of the physical environment. And session INT2B scheduled for 2:45 called Effective Responses to Emotional Trauma. Both of those folks had things come up that prevented them from being here. So those have been canceled. So those who were scheduled to go to those particular sessions, feel free to pick something else and just pop in. Last thing that you need to know before walking out the door is the CE code for this session is capital I, imagine, capital IT, exclamation point. Imagine it.
And if you didn't get a green bracelet, we're going to have them at registration. We want everybody to wear these wristbands so we can be, connected. And be sure that you use the hashtag #RiseUp whenever you're posting on any of your social media platforms so we can really create some energy around it.
All right, so now you've got until 10 o'clock before your first session starts. Right outside, we have our exhibitors. Please stop by and say hello, and thank you for being with us.